Right, I wanted to do a video of the 4 games I thought were a good recommendation for someone who was wanting some games for the PS4 at Christmas. These are games which I thoroughly enjoyed over the years. Some have come out recently, some not so recently. But before I start, I just want to make a few honourable mentions for a few games that are very good to get for Christmas. Whereas they're not the top ones that I'd choose, are still very good games, and if you can't get a hold of these ones or you're not a fan of this list, these might tickle your fancy a bit. First one, I'd say The Last of Us Remastered. I love it. I've got it on PS3. I would recommend it as one of the main games, but it already came out on PS3, and it's really just a remastered version of the game with some nice new bells and whistles in terms of new DLC content and stuff. So whilst that's nice, I wouldn't say it's one of the ones I'd recommend definitely, although it is one of the best games on PlayStation 4. Next, I would recommend Infamous Second Son and Infamous First Light. Both very good superhero play-around games, utilise different powers. Infamous Second Son, great and wide variety of powers you can use, nice and destructive. First Light though is just as good in terms of it's shorter and you've only got one power set, but you do have a really good, more emotional story than you got in Second Son. It's like the prequel story for one of the main characters in the game. And another one I'd recommend, it's been slammed a bit, but I don't know why, I personally love the game myself, is Destiny, as you can see playing at the moment. I really enjoy it, there's plenty to do, lots of good guns, it's a grind fest for an MMO fan like me. So yeah, it's great, it's first person shooter with grinding elements from MMOs, earning guns and legendary weapons and stuff. It's got all the best bits of Borderlands. And finally, my last recommendation is Final Fantasy XIV, A Realm Reborn. This is the game that got me into MMOs. I was not very impressed when Final Fantasy XIV first came out. It was shit, basically. And yeah, Realm Reborn, when I heard of it, I was really intrigued. And then when it came out, it being really good, I thought, I'll wait for that to come out on PS4. Because I remember them announcing when it was released on PlayStation 3 that it would be coming to PS4 at some point. So I decided, yeah, I'll wait till that. So yeah, it's a really good MMO and it's really addictive and it's really good fun. Well, those are my honourable mentions. Let's get to the first game. I hope you enjoy this list. I hope the games that you like are on this list. So Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. The first game on my Christmas list recommendation is Lords of the Fallen. I've never played a Dark Souls style game before, so going in, I was completely new to the gameplay style. I was completely ready to have my ass handed to me by the infamously difficult style of gameplay, and I found myself thoroughly enjoying Lords of the Fallen. I never heard of it until I saw it on the shelf, and I'd heard from a friend who got it that it was really good and that it was like Dark Souls, so I thought, yeah, I'll pick it up, I'll give it a try. I was bored and didn't have much to do. I had a spare 40 or so quid lying about, which by the way, this game was a bargain at £44 for the limited edition, brand new on day one. So it's not too expensive either for a PlayStation 4 game. But no, the gameplay is really good, the atmosphere is really good. I love walking around the creepy catacombs and through the old monasteries and stuff, and when you go to the Rogar world and it's all like a twisted version of our world and all that, it's really cool. And plus, I love the fact that it's pretty much everywhere, it's a blizzard. It's just constantly snowing. I just love snow in games, I don't know what it is. If there's a snow environment or something like that, or a game is set somewhere where it's cold and chilly and bulky armor with lots of fur and stuff on it, really love playing games. I don't know why, it's just maybe just like a bit of Norse mythology and stuff in games. It's pretty cool. I know the music's pretty cool, it's creepy, it's atmospheric, it fits just right for the locations. Like for example, the section I was playing on when I recorded the footage, the catacombs, it's got some awesome creepy slow music that also has like the sounds of ghosts and stuff laying through it, as you see spirits and stuff wafting through the air sometimes in certain areas, and it's all very nice and atmospheric. Difficulty wise, I've heard it's not as difficult as some of the other Dark Souls games, so in that respect I'm a little bit disappointed, but other than that, I think it's a solid game. I've had loads of fun with it, it's quite addictive, I love loot grinding on it for better equipment, so yeah, fully recommend it. Lords of the Fallen, great game.
Ready to join a real army, maggots? I'm my own Uruk.
Shadow of Mordor was another one of those games that really managed to surprise me. I wasn't very impressed with it when it was first announced, but my interest was piqued more when I saw the E3 demo, which they showed off the gameplay where it's in the state it's in now, or the current state the game is in. And yeah, I was really looking forward to it, and I was not disappointed. I heard people, when it was first announced, said, you know, a lot of, oh, it's Assassin's Creed, but in, you know, Middle Earth. And in a way, they're right, but it's good. If you're going to copy a game, do it well, and the game does it very well. But it doesn't just copy Assassin's Creed. It does a very good job of borrowing elements from the Batman Arkham Asylum games, which are made by the same publisher, Warner Brothers. And it manages to marriage the free running and stealth of Assassin's Creed, like the jumping down on enemies and stuff from a height, and the free running along buildings and stuff, with the combat style of Arkham Asylum, in that you hit enemies, you flow from combat to combat. But they've added some interesting new things as well. Everyone knows now of the famous Nemesis system, the system that allows you to fight an orc captain and say if he beats you, he becomes stronger and rises through the ranks of the orcs, and he gets higher up in Sauron's army. But then obviously you can play around with that as well, because later on in the game you get this thing called branding, which allows you to essentially mind control an orc, and when the orc is mind controlled by you, he becomes your slave basically. You can command him to go off and fight other orc captains, or to try infiltrate a war chief's bodyguard. So you get these really awesome organic storylines within the game, which you just create yourself, either by fighting an orc who eventually becomes your nemesis, who is picked out at the very end. The orc that causes you the most trouble is picked out for you at the very end of the game to be like the final orc boss that you fight, and he's always much tougher than he was. All the orcs are randomly named as well. They've got a random name generator, and they've recorded must be hours of random dialogue that the orcs have. I think it's very rare I've heard repeated dialogue, so that's great. The Nemesis system is wonderful. Graphics wise, I think it's great. It's free roaming. It's not as massive as, say, some other free roaming games, but they're really well detailed, well thought out sandboxes to explore. You've got the main bit of Mordor, horrible, craggy, ruins everywhere. Then you also get to go to the location which has only been in Tolkien's notes, which was the Sea of Nurnen, which is what they call the breadbasket of Mordor, which is where the hordes of Mordor grow their food, because obviously Sauron realizes he can't have armies without food. So it's cool to see locations like that and expand more upon a bit of the Lord of the Rings lore by looking at stuff that was in Tolkien's notes, as well as creating new stuff. So I hope they make another game like this. In terms of main story, it's good. Nothing like special, but it's good. It keeps you intrigued. It keeps you wanting to go along. You want to find out why Talion's possessed by the Wraith. But like I said before, it's these organic stories that you create with the Nemesis system that become so much fun. Or even if you haven't mind control an orc, they fight among themselves anyway, and you have these rivalries forming. You have like orcs doing trial by ordeals against like beasts and stuff. So it just becomes incredible. You end up becoming distracted by the Nemesis system so much, and it's not really much of a problem really, because I'd find myself like for a few hours doing the story, and then for a good 5 or 6 hours in terms of how long I was playing on that saved game, I'd just be going out after orc captains and causing mayhem, or just branding orcs and making my own little army. It's bloody good fun. And also it's surprising really, because it's a licensed game, and normally licensed games aren't that good, but it's been a trend recently of licensed games being much better. So yeah, Middle Earth Shadow of Mordor, I thoroughly recommend it. Wonderful, fun, addictive, great game.
Champion, a Reaper killed us all. I panicked and failed my men. Now they are soulless husks. Only my spirit was able to resist the call of Malthael. Please, put them to rest and end my shame.
I was a massive fan of Diablo 2. Played it all the time when I was younger on my laptop. I was addicted to that game. It was just brilliant. The classes were great and stuff. So I was always really hyped and looking forward to Diablo 3 when it finally came out. because I'd seen trailers and stuff, right? I'd seen all the gameplay and stuff, and I thought that's Diablo 2, but in 3D and everything, and I was like, oh, I'm really excited for it. But then when it launched, it had that terrible launch in 2011 when it was just online only. The whole Era 37 is infamous for Diablo 3. Its launch was terrible because of this. It was always online. People said the servers wouldn't work. So I was really disappointed because I was really looking forward to the third Diablo, and then obviously my hopes were dashed. And obviously I didn't have a computer powerful enough, but I was willing to upgrade. When I found out about that, I was just like, oh, disappointment. But now, Diablo 3 was released on PlayStation 3 a while back, and I loved it. Absolutely loved it. I know it wasn't click, click, click anymore, but it was great. It played great. The looting was addictive as hell. It was just fun gameplay. The roll ability, great addition to the series, and the collection of classes there were, it was just great. They were nice and varied. They were new. The only returning class was the barbarian, and then I was hyped for what the expansion would be because I loved Lord of Destruction for Diablo 2 added so much to the game, and I was wondering what's the expansion for Diablo 3 going to be like. And so when I heard that Reaper of Souls was coming out and that they were releasing the Ultimate Evil Edition for PlayStation, I thought I'm going to get that when it comes for PS4, because by the time it came out I'd already upgraded to next gen. And I'm glad I did, because Diablo 3 on PS4 is brilliant. It's fun, it's addictive, it's kill enemies, grab loot. But the Reaper of Souls version added so much cool new stuff. The actual 5th act is one of my favourite expansions. I love the Streets of Westmarch. I love going back to the Pandemonium Fortress from Diablo 2. That was awesome. I love the new villain Malthael. Fighting corrupted angels is a nice change from fighting demons all the time. And but also some of the other stuff they added, like added a whole brevity of new legendaries. The Crusader class, love the Crusader class, joyously overpowered. But also one of my favourite addition to Diablo 3 with the Reaper of Souls add-on is the Nephilim Rifts, randomly generated dungeons that you can access, which give you stupidly better loot than the normal dungeons do, with a tough boss at the end and randomly generated, so that way you could have spider caverns infested with demons, you can have a city infested with zombies. It's just awesome, and yeah, it's just cool. It's a nice addition, and also plus the unique Last of Us exclusive to PlayStation 4 dungeon is fun. I've been there, fought hordes of clickers and got ridiculously good legendary loot from them. So not much to say really. It's Diablo 3, it's awesome, it's addictive, I strongly recommend it. It's a really good game, and yeah, I would recommend it wholeheartedly. So that concludes part 1 of my PS4 Christmas list. These are just some of the games which I think are very good and deserving of a spot under the Christmas tree. Coming up next will be the last 3 games on my list. These are some pretty good ones as well. I hope you'll agree with me on them. See you next video.